Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And there's drama all across the board right now, and especially within the camp of the Florida puppeteers. After getting roasted vociferously all season long about some of these roster decisions, the players themselves clearly aren't happy with what is going on right now behind the scenes, with Owakening saying that he doesn't even want to run the SMG on the team, he wants to be an AR, but for some reason the team has not complied in their roster decisions so far this year. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Really up to the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to discuss today. First of all, of course, wanted to mention the Boston event. I believe the stream, the official kind of stream, whatever Boston are doing, starts for this today. There, of course, was other things going on. You get the trash talk, lovely stuff. A few clips like this came out from yesterday's match. Pretty sure this was Silly and Fire. Maybe Fire still on that team, and the guys that actually got knocked out of the tourney already, maybe. Kind of surprising that the format means that some players are out already on the Friday, but I think a pretty big upset here, so that was kind of interesting to see. And as Boston kind of say, remind that streams start with that being today, but if you need your challenges fixed, Trevor Mutiny has got everything going on. I believe even Clace has said actually here that, first of all, this was crazy of note as well, we'll see this, but Clace also said that he should have hired someone to kind of periscope the matches. I don't know if Periscope really exists still as a platform, but that's what people used to use back in the open eras to kind of watch the matches along. This is what was incredible actually from Woo here. This is an image of, you know, Clace and this young guy, like back in the day. I'm pretty sure this is Black Ops 3, right? Because you can see here in the background, this looks like the Black Ops 3 menus. And then this is another shot right here of Clay and the same young fella, and then this is the kind of updated version right here. So, Clay, he never ages, this guy. It always looks the same, but I thought this was kind of incredible, to be honest, to look at. And as Clay says, you should have hired someone to kind of stream all the matches on Periscope. But, who knows? We'll still see, hopefully, these matches today. Doug is going to continue playing as well, so exciting that is going alongside, really, the CDL action, of which there is plenty of CDL action this weekend. Wanted to mention real quick the FaZe versus London series again, because, of course, London right now, pretty sure, according to IU title at the very least, they are undefeated in both Hardpoint and Search and Destroy so far this stage. Their control not looking particularly good, but if they can get their control sorted, they really are a force to be reckoned with, right? Beating FaZe the way they did yesterday, winning both Hardpoints and the Search is not an easy thing to do at all. But FaZe, of course, were getting kind of down on themselves, like even as Zero did say that every match you load into on Vanguard feels different. He said like he loaded in, or he plays on like 5 cents, but it felt like he was on 3. Like I don't know. The players always talk about the fact that every single time they get the game on, it just feels different to play. Like there's all these rumors about the fact that like different accounts have different aim assist settings and stuff, which may or may not be the case, obviously, but look, I wouldn't put it past Vanguard, to be perfectly honest. But the FaZe guys were kind of frustrated. Arcitys tweets GG's London lost 3-1. I believe he did some other tweet as well, where he was kind of like a little bit down on himself and his own individual performances, because lately Arcitys has not quite been the level he needs to be at. That's the thing, I talked about this a while ago. Cellium is a guaranteed 1.2 to 1.4 KD. If you want to beat FaZe, you've got to make the other guys kind of, well, have a difficult time. Arcitys seems to be the easiest player to make it go negative, right? Cellium's absolutely killing it. Arcitys' stats lately haven't been great. He does generally turn up in the clutch moments down on land, so I'm not exactly concerned for this FaZe team, but it certainly is something of note, right? That if Arcitys continues to underperform, I wonder if the rest of the team starts thinking, okay, are there any upgrades we could have here? It's kind of tough to believe, but I wonder if the possibility is there in 12 months time. Will it still be the same roster? I'm not really sure. It depends in part on how the rest of this year goes and the start of next year for this team. But yeah, aBeZy had a 0.9, Arcitys had like a 0.85. That's not really going to cut it in some of the respawns, and he was kind of down on himself, but FormaL kind of backs him up right here, and quite the interesting statement I thought here from FormaL. You're a 2-time world champion and a top 3 teammate I've ever had. Keep your head up. This is quite the statement really from FormaL, because he's not played with Arcitys that much, right? He played with Arcitys back in, I guess, the Huntsman team in Modern Warfare. I don't really think there was any other times than that they've played together, right? So that just goes to show that FormaL during that period, like, really rated Arcitys, right? I mean, you think about FormaL, the players he's teamed with over his career, there's so many of them, and this is, Arcitys is a top 3 teammate FormaL has ever had. You're thinking of Scump. I mean, Scump's got to be up there. You've got Crim6. I'm guessing FormaL's going to leave Crim6 out, and I'm guessing maybe Karma's the other one. Like, I'd imagine that maybe FormaL's top 3 is Scump, Karma, and Arcitys, which is quite the top 3, given that FormaL teamed on so many rosters when he was kind of first coming up in the scene, on Team Caliber, on Envy, then even when he left Optic, went to Luminosity Gaming with, JCap and the like as well over there. So there's many players that FormaL's played with, but Arcitys is a top 3 from his point of view. So it just goes to show how impactful he can be to a lineup, and why FaZe aren't going to get rid of him anytime soon. But still, the question is there about the stats and stuff like this if they continue to lose series. Now, this was confirmed yesterday. This is fantastic news, I thought, from the flank. I was kind of always preaching when Ben was on the flank that I really enjoyed, like, what he brought to the show. The way his takes clashed nicely with some of the other co-hosts, right? But he's also great at keeping the topic on track, right? Like, they had a few discussions that I think without Ben last night would have gone off the rails, right? Like, they would have kept going forever. Like, when X is talking about Seattle, he just can't seem to stop, right? But Ben brought the conversation to a close, brought on to the next map, like actually brought some new kind of, views to the analysis there. So I think Ben's always been a great feature of the flank, and it's great to have him back on the show. And also what's great about it is the fact that he's now going to do full-time content, which is quite the step really for Ben J to see. I'm really happy for him that he's taken this plunge effectively, because it's obviously something that's pretty daunting for Ben, I imagine, after doing a pretty stable job at Esports Engine as kind of relations, like maybe he was partner relations manager or whatever exactly he was doing over there. But yes, he's back on the flank officially, and he's going to be doing it full-time content. So he talked about this briefly at the start of the flank. He's going to be on the flank obviously full-time every single show. He's going to do gameplay breakdowns, going to do interviews and stuff. So I think this is just great stuff for the scene, really. Great to see Ben kind of, taking the dive, and he's going for it. And I think it's going to work out, because I think he does add an awful lot to Call of Duty content in general. So great to see, and I thought he was, always been a great addition to the flank, and made it even better last night than everybody was. I was thinking about the potential co-host, and I didn't really have Ben in my kind of thought process, because I thought, okay, Esports Engine, he's probably going to stay there. Seems like the Ben type of thing to do. But I think this is certainly better news than pretty much any of the other co-hosts that they possibly could have got. Now, this is the key talking point of the day. So on the flank last night, they were talking about the Florida Mutineers team. Yes, they beat Paris, but still, as we said yesterday, it was an embarrassing series for the Mutineers. It should not have been that close. There's no way that a good team would have let Paris, do that to them, especially in the respawns. They just about get over the line in the search and destroys. It was tough to watch. Now, everyone was talking about after the fact, why is this Florida Mutineers team still doing this? They've got worse. I don't think they're making champs right now, and especially if the team chemistry internally is like this, they're not making champs. Awakening has had all sorts of drama recently, like Yeez came into the team as their SMG. Yeez then said, okay, I'm built different or something, and Awakening replied to say, no, you're not, mate. You're absolutely terrible in scrims when we trialed you out, and therefore you're stuck on the bench and everything. So definitely been some drama going on over there. But everyone's been wondering, who is making the call to have Skies and Awakening, like Skies being the main AR, Awakening being generally better on the flex or the AR role, and then have another AR in the team. Dave Paddy, of course, was there to the start of the year. Awakening was forced into the SMG role, which he didn't seem so comfortable with compared to what he's done before. And then they bring in Major Maniac for Dave Paddy and effectively have the same thing again. So, of course, a lot of the blame here has kind of gone onto Ogre 2, the general manager, but now people are saying that actually, like, Ogre 2's hands are kind of tied by other people making decisions. And people are like, okay, is that someone above Ogre 2, but like Ogre 2's the GM, or is it the players themselves that want this type of stuff? So I'll show the clips on the flank here, but the theory was going around, could Awakening be the one who's effectively made this call?
Be a team in front of Skies, man. That would have been
Ben, you mentioned that, Ogre 2's obviously not making all these decisions. My question is like, and I agree with you, I don't think he is, but who the hell is asking for a third AR on this team repeatedly? Because if it's Skies and Awakening, they gotta go just for being dumb, bro. There's no way.
I think it is them.
So here's my thing, Pat.
I
kind of want to get the answer to that question, because that is really kind of my number one question is, like, their original roster they had this season with Dave, like, didn't make a lot of sense at the time.
Yeah, who asked for that?
Like, I really am just as curious as you are about what the decision making was to end up in that spot, because they had a lot of options going in that off season. Like, they could have gone a totally different route. So
didn't they had Havok on the roster, right? Yeah, so everyone's saying Vivid replaced Havok. Bro, like, imagine those two teamed up and they didn't have Dave. Like, that could have been a solid roster. Like, they've had so many options to put two subs on this team with Skies and Awakening and haven't done it for 2 years.
No,
for 2 years.
I completely agree. I don't know.
There's a lot more to unpack.
So then Awakening obviously responds to this and says, you really think I wanted to use a sub? I don't want to use a sub. I want to be on the AR, but yet the team chemistry or team dynamics composition is forcing me into that role. So it's a crazy situation that Awakening is kind of their star player really has seemingly no say on what the team does, because if Awakening hasn't wanted to run a sub, yes, he was gassing it up at the start of the year, but largely because I think it was kind of seemingly forced into that role. The team said, we're getting Dave Paddy, Wake, you're on the big SMG. And then obviously a few months in, I guess he wasn't really liking it, and the team decided to make a change, but still, minus Dave Paddy plus Major Maniac, putting Awakening in the same position despite the fact that he didn't want this, is like, what is going on in this Florida Mutineers camp right? It's really difficult to say. Even Ogre 2 does say here back in April, even though kind of joking around, love ARs. Like, this team just does love ARs. I don't really understand the reason behind it, but still, they're going to do it. They're going to keep doing it. Don't know what's going to happen next year, but who's calling the shots there, right? And that's kind of the guys were saying on the flank, the Florida puppeteers, right? Someone's pulling the strings over there. Someone, and apparently it's not Awakening, apparently it's not Ogre 2, someone's calling the shots to make these, AR players just reign supreme. So I have no idea what's going on in that Florida camp, but just the way things are going now, and the fact that Awakening is saying this publicly on Twitter shows that he's not happy about the internal state of the team, he's not happy about the way they're playing in their results, and probably doesn't have much confidence they can actually make a run here, because other teams around them are making a much more credible case to qualify for the World Championship. Look at these recent stats as well here, right? We bag on 2 Real a fair bit, but you gotta feel bad for this guy because Vivid was in the same role getting torched on statistically. Like, I think Vivid had the lowest KD in the league. And you can see why when he's playing with Awakening, Skies, and Dave Paddy as he was at the time. And now 2 Wheelers are 0.7 in hard points, playing again with 3 ARs. Like, and then Insertion Destroy, 2 Wheel, I mean, in control as well, are 0.7 because he's getting left out to dry an awful lot of the time. You've got to feel bad for this guy because his stock is just getting chalked off a cliff because he's playing with 3 ARs. We saw it with Vivid. We'll see it again here. This is not a recipe for success. But somehow they're still 2-2 and they play Thieves today with an actual chance to go to the winners bracket, right? So it's a messy situation here, and of course New York aren't going to be particularly happy about it either. So definitely intrigued to your thoughts on that one in the comment section below. But that does lead on rather nicely into the present CDL standings. This is what it looks like. Optic now 235, of course. They play Toronto tomorrow, but London at 190. They've actually overtaken Surge now. So the third seed could be going here to the Ravens, at least on present form. And if that is the case once again, then third, I guess, plays what? 6th of the World Championship in terms of seeding, which right now would be Toronto, which is generally a pretty good matchup for London, right? Because 0 versus Bance usually goes 0's way. So I don't know, obviously early days here, things could all change around. And Toronto are far from guaranteed as well to go to the World Championship. They need a win tonight against Boston. If they don't get it, I think Toronto are at risk because Minnesota are coming and Subliners are certainly coming as well. And Thieves, Guerrillas, who knows what they're going to do. But yesterday was a really bad day for New York because Minnesota and Florida both winning in the fashion they did. And with Minnesota still to play Paris, that should put them on 140. New York really have to think about, okay, which team am I going to overtake here? Is it Guerrillas? But the thing is, Rokkr wants to overtake Guerrillas as well. So if Rokkr were to somehow qualify, then New York would either need to beat Rokkr and Guerrillas or try and beat a Thieves or an Ultra or who knows, right? So it gets a bit messy here, but Rokkr with a big victory yesterday against Seattle does make things much easier for them to qualify, but it's still far from guaranteed because New York are still relatively close to making something happen. But yeah, this is the thing, right? Optic, FaZe, and Surge all losing matches, but well, not helping at all to get New York Subliners to the World Championship, right? So like, yeah, all these guys are combining right now to make it as hard as possible for Crim to get there, but it still is to some degree within their own hands. If they turn up to the major New York and win it, they will still qualify, but it's getting harder every single day, especially with the other teams around them that are far from a walk in the park. Let's talk about the 4 games then for today again. Like, honestly, yesterday was kind of a warm-up day, but still an interesting one. Today is massively important. So Paris versus Rokkr. At this point, I feel like Paris have got to be chalked. Yesterday, to me, was their chance. I think like Rokkr will come in here. They'll know they've got the confidence. They've had a great week so far against Seattle. They can win this series. If Paris somehow do it, like, that would be great for New York, but I really don't think it's going to happen. Their Search and Destroy is just way too bad. There's no way Paris win 3 respawns, which makes me think Rokkr have got this one sewn up regardless of the scoreline. Then Boston, Toronto. This is, to me, the series of the day, I think, actually, to keep your eyes on here, because if Toronto lose this one, playing Optic on Sunday, they, like, their championship qualification is not out of the question, because if they lose this series and they lose to Optic, Toronto will be in losers, with a chance of going, you know, top 12, top 8, at which point, Subliners theoretically could overtake them, right? Like, if Toronto lose their final 2 series and they go top 12 at the major, like, they are not guaranteed to the World Championship. Boston pretty much are at this point. I honestly think Boston are kind of the favourites here, based on the way their SMG duo has been playing. Of course, it's been a fair bit of time since we've last seen Toronto, but for me, I think Boston are slight favourites, going to take them 3-1 here, because Ultra's hardpoint has been very questionable. Then Thieves, Florida Mutineers. Thieves have got to be favourites to me. Like, I think everyone bashes on Thieves, and I think understandably so, because they're a team that theoretically should be competing for championships, and they've really been nowhere near so far this year. But right now, they're probably a, you know, top 5 team, something like that. They're looking pretty good online, and even as much as I often roast their SMG duo, it's still better than what Florida Mutineers have got going on, right? And Florida just looks so questionable. Yes, their search is okay, so if it goes game 5, I think it's far from guaranteed, but I think Thieves 3-1 is probably the safe pick here. And then Surge FaZe. I think the FaZe bounce back. I don't really know though, because if Mac has a good series against FaZe, anything is possible here, because Sib and Pred are on top of their game right now. This is a big series though, because Surge 1-3, FaZe 2-2. If Surge somehow win, then they'll be 2-3, FaZe will be 2-3, many other teams will be 2-3, and that's not out of the question. So I'm going to take FaZe 3-2, but it's far from an easy day to call. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, tell us in YouTube gods, this is a good video, and I'd like you should see it as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.